let's get started with these brand new ones that I just bought. Let's start with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. All right, so here's the Tyrannosaurus Rex with battle damage. That is pretty cool that it flips open and closed so easily. The rest of this T-Rex has a brown body with black detailing on the top, and the neck and head is fully posable too. Next up, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Mosasaurus. Let's open it up and check it out. All right, so here is the fully assembled giant Mosasaurus. It's got an opening jaw, and all the tails are adjustable. Top of its body is a dark blue-purple color, and its underbelly is a gray color. Check out those blue eyes too. Next up, we've got the giant Giganotosaurus. Check out the spikes on this dinosaur right at the top. That is a massive spine. This dinosaur has some huge teeth, and like many of the super colossal figures, you can actually feed it small dinosaurs and then empty it out in the stomach compartment. Over here on the other side, we've got another super colossal dinosaur. This is the T-Rex. This has a darker body than most of my T-Rex figures. It still has the white underbelly, and just like the Giganotosaurus, you can open it up, feed it miniature dinosaurs all the way down, and open it up in the stomach compartment. Next up, we've got a giant Brachiosaurus. And it's pretty detailed, even though it's a huge dinosaur figure. You can adjust all the legs to move the neck up and down. So it's a pretty cool figure, and it's ginormous. Probably stands about 3 feet tall. Next up, another huge dinosaur is the Apatosaurus. Check out this green body with the lighter green striping on the top. You can open and close the mouth and rotate the head too. Next up, we've got a huge T-Rex that's over a foot long from tail to the head. This T-Rex has a dark brown body, a yellow underbelly, and gray detailing all over the top of its body, plus an action button for roaring. Right over here, we've got another T-Rex with camouflage custom coloring. This dinosaur looks really cool. I love the coloring on this. And with the tail, you can control the face and the roaring too. Right over here, we've got an Indominus Rex with battle damage. Let's check that out. That is really cool. Again, I really like how you can flip that on and off super easily. Rest of this dinosaur is all gray, super textured and bumpy all over its body, and it has an action button to operate the jaw. Next up, we've got an evil-looking Scorpius Rex. It's got the quills on its tail, spring-loaded so you can flick the tail back and forth. It's got those huge claws on its feet too. This is one mean-looking dinosaur. Right up top here, we've got another Mosasaurus. So we've got twin Mosasauruses in my collection now. You can see that it's speckled white all along its back with the dark blue and the gray underbelly as well. And the tail moves too. Here is a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a darker body, just like the super colossal one that we saw earlier. The head on this T-Rex is ginormous too, a lot bigger than the other T-Rexes that I have. Over here, we've got a custom colored Indominus Rex. This one's got blue, it's got purple, it's got orange, and it's got black. And it's got some green eyes too. And just like many of the other Indominus Rex figures, this has a slashing action and a roar button too. We got a ton of T-Rexes in here. Check out this gray-brown one that is fully adjustable and fully posable. We've also got some more battle damage T-Rexes. All those teeth, fully posable and fully adjustable legs, arms, and tail. Up front here, we've got another T-Rex, but with different coloring. This is like a brown-orange color and a darker brown on top. Once again, this T-Rex is also fully adjustable. You can pose the neck, and it's got a button at the top of its head to control the jaw. Here is another orange-brown Tyrannosaurus Rex, but as you probably already noticed, this one has battle damage all over it. And it doesn't have the little button to click it back and forth. It's just painted on its body. Here is a normal colored Indominus Rex without the battle damage. This Indominus Rex has a gray body. It's a little bit darker on the top. It's got those spikes right around the head, and then it's got darker coloring right around its eyes too. Here is another Mosasaurus. This one has different coloring than the other ones that we've seen in this collection so far. It's a lighter blue coloring on the sides. Still got the dark gray top. No white speckles on this one though. And just like the other Mosasauruses, it has a movable jaw, can adjust the fins, but on this one, the tail actually doesn't move at all. Next up, another T-Rex. Light brown coloring on the side, darker brown on the top, and a yellow underbelly. And this T-Rex has the tail that also controls the head. Here is our first Spinosaurus of this collection. This Spinosaurus is light tan on the side, the movable tail, legs, ankles, arms, neck, and the jaw as well. Over on this side, we've got a big old Carnotaurus. It's got a gray underbelly and clay red sides and a darker brown top. Look at all those bumps and spikes along its body. And the two horns up top too. Here we've got a T-Rex, but this one is crazy custom colored. Look at the bright red on this body. You wouldn't see this coloring out in the wild, but it sure makes for an awesome collectible. Here is a big old Stegosaurus with gray-blue coloring on the sides and a darker gray along the top with a pink underbelly. And this dinosaur, like all the others, is super textured. You can see it's got super bumpy skin everywhere. Here is an Allosaurus with a dark green body and gray and red detailing right along its neck. See that set of teeth too, and those red eyes. That's really cool. Depending on how much you slide this open, it'll either growl or it'll roar full on. This is another Allosaurus, but with totally different features. This has a tan body with blue on the top and a brighter blue right along the head. And it's got two action buttons. That one controls the jaw and the other controls the arms. Look at that blue tongue too. How unusual. Right in the back here, we've got a tan dinosaur. This is a Carcharodontosaurus. It's got the brown and yellow detailing with the bumps right along its spine all the way to its tail. This Carcharodontosaurus also has quite a set of teeth too. Here is a dark red dinosaur with a white underbelly. This is a Carnotaurus, and this dinosaur has a chomping action. Check out those two iconic horns right at the top of the head too. This big old dinosaur is a Suchomimus. It's got a blue body with a darker blue legs and a yellow top. Look at that, that goes all the way down the spine to the tail. Plus, this Suchomimus has a chomping action. Look at those huge rows of teeth too. And that red tongue. Up next, we've got a big old Stegosaurus again, but with different coloring. This is a dark green along the sides. It's got tan and brown that leads to the underbelly. And this Stegosaurus has a swinging action for its tail. Let's check that out. That's pretty cool. This is a little bit smaller, but it's still a pretty big dinosaur. It's a Ceratosaurus with dark green coloring and it's got the slide action for different sound effects. That is really cool. Oh, you know what? Back here is another Ceratosaurus. This one though is gray with brown spots and red right on the top and a super bright red face. Let's see what this dinosaur can do. This big old super bright dinosaur is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's even got some bright yellow-orange right on the top of its head. This gray dinosaur is an Allosaurus. It's got that yellow detailing from the tail all the way to the top of the head. Look at those interesting things right above its eyes. It's kind of like eyebrows in a way. And our last dinosaur is the good old Albertosaurus with battle damage. You can see it's got the slash on its leg, and it's also got a squishy stomach, ribs that you can pull down, and then the skin that covers it all. With some of the big figures. First off, I bet you will be seeing another T-Rex, most likely Rexy the T-Rex. This is the Hammond Collection T-Rex and is one of the most detailed figures that I have. And you know, it'd be really cool if we saw an Indominus Rex figure in this Chaos Theory show. This Indominus Rex figure is even larger than my Hammond Collection T-Rex, and it has two buttons, one for slashing the arms and one for chomping the jaw. I've got a few more really cool T-Rex figures in here. This one is in the classic brown with a darker brown on top and has the button on the top of its head for the chomping. Check out that huge bite. Over here is a Scorpius Rex figure, and I think this would make a great villain dinosaur in the new show. This dinosaur figure has two action buttons, one to chomp its jaw and the other button to slash its arms. Next up is a Tarbosaurus figure. This is one crazy looking dinosaur with all these spikes on its back and then the bright red underneath its chin. It's a pretty cool chomping action too. Back here, we've got a Suchomimus figure. This figure is actually pretty large, and this is the blue and yellow version. And this version has one action button for chomping the jaw. Here's another giant T-Rex figure. This one is the Battle Damage edition, and you can see the battle damage hidden right there on the side. When I press this button at the top, it flips it so that the battle damage is revealed on both sides. Plus, the full body is posable. My next Chaos Theory prediction is a Dilophosaurus. This figure is the bright red basic version, so it's got the green and red frills that you can open and close, and the big yellow crown on the top of its head. This is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This version is the yellow and brown one. And with this figure, you can move the tail around to move the head in a super lifelike way. And I've also got the other version of the Cryolophosaurus. This is the dark blue with the white and a little bit of red on its back. And just like the yellow version that we just saw, you can move the tail to move the head around. I'd say it's a pretty good bet that the Atrociraptor dinosaur will be in the upcoming Chaos Theory show. We saw this species in the Jurassic World Dominion movie, so I think it's gonna come back. Up next, I've got a Baryonyx figure in here. This one is the gray with dark blue coloring and the bright blue on top, and it has the slide lever action for opening and closing its jaw with sound effects. Here's one of my favorite herbivores, the Stegosaurus. This figure is the dark gray-blue version. It has the pink underbelly and the hidden action button on its spine to move its tail back and forth. So you better watch out for those spikes. And here is our first flying dinosaur of this Chaos Theory Predictions haul. This is a Pteranodon, and I believe that this one is from the Hammond Collection, so it actually has these rubbery wings, which make it look and feel a whole lot more lifelike. Next up is a Velociraptor figure. Now this is Velociraptor Blue, and I don't know that they'll be showing up in the Chaos Theory show, but I definitely think some velociraptors will. My next prediction is a Carnotaurus. This is one of my favorite predator dinosaurs, and I'd be really excited if it was in the new Chaos Theory show. This is the Sound Surge edition, and there's a button on the side that you can press for the sound effects. I've got another Suchomimus figure in here. Earlier we saw the dark blue version, and this one is the bright yellow with the brown detailing. And this one actually has two buttons. The first button activates that same chomping action, and it has a second button to activate some tail swinging. Next is the ginormous Albertosaurus figure. And you know, I think this dinosaur looks pretty cool as well. It's got the green body with the orange stripe on the side. And with this figure, you can use the tail to move the head around and chomp its jaw. Next, why don't we open up one of the new figures? This is the Epic Evolution Strike Attack Velociraptor. This is a bright orange velociraptor. It's got some brown detailing along its back and on its legs. And this figure has a spring-loaded slashing action. I actually have a few other velociraptors that have this same torso twisting slash action. Overall, pretty cool. Not too much different compared to the older versions of these velociraptor figures though. Next up is the Epic Evolution Strike Attack Guaibasaurus. And part of this new Epic Evolution series, you can see what type of environment that this dinosaur is in. And this one looks like it's a swamp type environment. This is a pretty cool looking dinosaur. It's pretty small, similar in size to the Velociraptor figure. Has some cool coloring too. I like this dark green. It's a very swampy color. And this figure has an attack action as well. When you press down on its body, it has a chomping action. That's pretty cool. It's cool little spikes on the top of its head too. Next up is a Quetzalcoatlus, which is actually a flying dinosaur. And this figure is huge. You probably recognize it from the Jurassic World Dominion movie, and I'm hoping that they bring it back for the Chaos Theory show. And this figure has two buttons. One flaps its wings up and down, and the other, underneath its body, opens and closes its jaw. Over here, I've got a Parasaurolophus figure. This one is in the yellow with some purple and reflective pink coloring, which I think is pretty cool. And on this figure, you can move the tail to move the head around. Got some sound effects too. And actually, here is another Parasaurolophus figure, but this one is from the Hammond collection. So it's a little bit larger, and the detailing and the painting looks to be around the same quality, so there's not a whole lot more texturing or detailing on this figure. Here we've got a Triceratops, and I think this is the first Triceratops in this Chaos Theory predictions haul. This is the dark green version. It's got a bit of brown detailing along the top and on its frill, and it has two action buttons. One moves its head up and down for this stabbing action, and the other swings its tail back and forth. All right, here we've got the Allosaurus figure. This is another really cool looking predator figure. This version comes in the dark brown with the dark blue coloring along the top, and it has this slide lever action for the roaring and chomping. Here is another T-Rex. This one is quite a bit smaller than the ones that we saw at the beginning though. That's because this is the Sound Surge T-Rex, so it's got a single button on its back for the roar sound effects. Up next, I've got a Baryonyx here, and I think I've actually got another Baryonyx right back here. This first one, though, looks like it has some battle damage on its side. I think this one was released for Fallen Kingdom. And this figure is colored pretty similar to the Allosaurus that we just saw, with the dark brown on the sides and then the dark blue on the top. And it has a single action button for a chomping action. Here is another Allosaurus figure with totally different coloring. It's got the dark green over most of its body with the white and red detailing. And I love these little spikes that run all the way down its back and even a little bit on its tail. Plus, it's got a slide lever action for the chomping and sound effects. And here I've got another Scorpius Rex figure. This one is a bit smaller than the one that we saw a while ago, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but it is very posable with its arms, its legs, and its tail. Check out those quills on its tail too. And you can still manually open and close the mouth. Now here's a pretty special dinosaur figure. This is an Ankylosaurus figure, but this is from the first Jurassic World movie, so it has this special edition armor plating that you can take off to reveal the normal armor plating underneath. And here is a normal Ankylosaurus figure. This one's a bit more recent though, and it comes in the clay red coloring with the tan spikes and the brown shell. And this figure has a ton of armor all over its body. Check out that tail swinging action. And here is our smallest T-Rex figure yet. This version has the little battle damage on the side and the tail that controls the head and the jaw. Up next is an herbivore called the Pachycephalosaurus with the green and orange coloring. And it's got some battle damage right here on the side that you can press down to reveal the damage underneath. I've also got some Mosasaurus figures in here, which I really hope show up in the Chaos Theory show. This first one is one of my favorites with the dark green, the yellow, and then the bright red along its head, and you can use the tail to chomp its jaw open and closed. There's also this dark blue Mosasaurus, which looks really cool, although it doesn't have any action buttons. And then there's this bright green version that actually has some battle damage right on the side. We saw one Dilophosaurus figure earlier, and now here are two more, much smaller versions. This first one is a bright green with the frills that are red and yellow. And there's also this dark purple version that has red, yellow, and orange on its frills. And here are four more Velociraptor figures and my final Velociraptors in this Chaos Theory prediction video. I've got this green one that has a button on its back for slashing its arms up and down. Here's another Velociraptor blue, but this one has a battle damage button on its side. There's this darker blue Velociraptor that has some orange on its back and this really cool reflective gold on its head. And this Velociraptor is actually pretty special because it is from the Hammond collection. So it is much more flexible and posable compared to the other Velociraptor figures. Here is a Spinosaurus figure. This specific figure is actually from the first Jurassic World movie, so it's pretty old, but I love the coloring on this figure. And we've got a few more winged dinosaurs in here. This first one is another Pteranodon. It's got the gray with some purple coloring and a tiny little action button for flapping its wings. And then here's another winged dinosaur called the Dimorphodon, and it has pretty much identical coloring with the gray over most of its body and then some purple detailing in certain spots. And here is our only human figure in this haul. I'm sure you've seen it in the teaser that Darius is back. Next up, I've got a cute little Ankylosaurus, and this cute little dinosaur is called Bumpy, as I'm sure you remember. Next up is a bright red Minmi dinosaur. I really love all the spikes and armor plating over this dinosaur. And I've got a few Stygimoloch figures in here. This first one is like a dark brown coloring with some darker purple coloring along its body. And best of all, you can use its tail for the headbutting action. And here is Stygimoloch Stiggy. This figure has some similar coloring. It's a brighter orange-red coloring, and then the purple detailing and striping along its body. But on this smaller figure, there is no attack button, so you can't do the headbutting action on this one. I've also got a Gallimimus figure in here. This one's pretty cool with the soft green coloring, and then it has this really cool yellow and brown striping from its back all the way up to its head, and its head is almost entirely that bright yellow color. And last of all, what I really would like to see in Chaos Theory is a Therizinosaurus. Now, we saw this dinosaur in Jurassic World Dominion, and I don't really know that we'll be seeing it in this new show, but I still think it would be really cool. Let's check out this huge Indominus Rex figure. I think this figure is the largest predator figure that I have aside from the super colossal figures. This figure has the typical Indominus Rex coloring that you see in the movies. It's got the gray all over its body with some brown detailing on the top and around its eyes too. And it comes with action buttons, one for the arms and one for the jaw. I believe this figure is the epic Roarin' T-Rex. This figure has some of my favorite coloring and detailing along its whole body, and my favorite part is that you can use the tail to twist its neck and to move it up and down, and a button to control its jaw to make it look really lifelike. Hiding back here, we've got a huge Spinosaurus figure. This is almost as big as the Indominus Rex figure, but I think a little bit smaller. Still really epic though. It's got the tan body with the red spine and a narrow and very long snout. Over here, we've got another T-Rex figure, but this one is different. It is the extreme battle damage T-Rex. It's got totally different coloring with the gray detailing on the top and the light underbelly and brown on the sides. And of course, it's got the special ability that you can turn the battle damage on and off with the click of a button. Plus, with this figure, there's no button to control the jaw, but you can actually just open its mouth and keep it open for posing. Before we keep going with this bin, I've actually got some brand new ones from Camp Cretaceous that we're gonna open up and check out. This first one is the Scorpius Rex Danger Pack. First, let's check out the Scorpius Rex figure. This has some similar coloring as the other Scorpius Rex figures that I have. You'll see later on in the video, but it is actually a dark green. The other Scorpius Rex figures I have are just black. It's got the yellow underbelly, of course, and the poisonous quills on its tail. And there's no action button, but it is pretty adjustable. You can move its legs and its arms, you can adjust its neck, and of course, open and close the mouth. And those are some pretty crazy looking teeth too. And the other two pieces that come in the set are Kenji in the blue sweater and the sphere that they can ride in. You can actually plop them down in there. It secures them in so they won't go flying around. Then you can close it up. Bingo! And then even as it spins, they stay upright. So you can actually roll this thing around and have the Scorpius Rex chase after it. How cool is that? It's a full playset. Here is another brand new Camp Cretaceous figure that I'm adding to my collection. This is Velociraptor Delta. This figure is the exact same size as many of the other Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Velociraptor figures. It's got some pretty cool coloring. It's like a dark green blue with the black stripes on top. And this figure actually comes with a special feature. There is a button on its back that you can use for slashing. Next up, we've got the Carnotaurus figure. Comes with sound effects as well as you can hear. It's got the dark brown body with some black detailing along the top, a super bumpy texture along its skin, the two big horns. It's got some yellow eyes, a huge set of teeth, and the action button to control the head. Next up, we've got a Ceratosaurus figure. This figure has a gray-brown body. It's got some darker brown detailing, and of course the bright red along its back and its head. It's got the white horn and an action button to control the jaw. Way down here, we've got another Scorpius Rex figure. This figure is larger than the one that I just opened up, and as you can see, it does have the darker body. It is not dark green, but instead is like a very dark blue and black along the top. Plus, this figure does have action buttons. The first button on its back controls the jaw, and the second button on its back controls the arms. Plus, the tail is actually spring-loaded, so you can swing it back and forth for hitting other dinosaurs. This is an Albertosaurus. It's got the dark green body with the orange detailing all the way up to its head. You can move its arms, you can move its legs, and its tail swivels back and forth to swivel the head. Next up is a big old Baryonyx figure. This figure is mostly green. It's got some darker green along its back and some brown that goes all the way up to its head. And it's got a slide lever action to control the jaw and sound effects. This is a Cryolophosaurus figure. It is dark blue with red and orange detailing along its neck and head. You can manually open and close the mouth, and the rest of its body parts are movable as well. And the tail actually controls the head. This is a Carcharodontosaurus. It's got the tan body with orange and brown detailing, and it's a pretty big figure and pretty adjustable. You can move the arms, legs, and tail, and it's got an action button on its back to control the chomping. This is a Sarcophagus figure. It looks quite a bit like an alligator, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're related, but it's got some much more interesting coloring than most alligators. It's got a light blue-gray body with some purple along the top and some orange and red detailing on the side. And look at all those spikes that line its back, from the top all the way to the bottom of its tail. And with this figure, you can use the tail to move its head around in a super realistic way. Here is an Allosaurus figure. These are some pretty epic looking dinosaur figures. It's got the tan body with 2 tones of blue, light blue on the face and back, and dark blue along the bottom of its back and its legs too. This figure is fully posable. You can move it around and adjust its arms, and it actually comes with 2 action buttons, one to control the jaw and one to control the arms. Next up is another Baryonyx figure with different coloring. It has the green body once again. It's got some lighter coloring along the bottom of its neck and 2 different tones of brown on its back. You can see the light brown along the bottom and the dark brown along its neck. And once again, light brown on the top of its head that encapsulate its yellow eyes. And let's not forget the button on its back to control the jaw. Plus, the rest of its limbs are adjustable and posable as well. This is a Monolophosaurus with the dark green-brown coloring and the yellow detailing all along its back and the orange detailing right along its nose and head. And let's check out those green eyes too. It's got some tiny little eyes. And with this figure, you can actually use the tail to open and close its jaw. Here is a Velociraptor figure. I think this might be Velociraptor Charlie. I can't remember, I get confused. But it's got the green body with the darker green detailing along its back and its head. It's got the yellow eyes. You can manually open and close the jaw, and the rest of its limbs are posable and movable too. Here is another Monolophosaurus figure. It is a very dark blue color. It's got some tan detailing along its back that goes all the way up to its head. This figure also has some yellow eyes and a huge set of teeth, and its whole body is fully posable as well. You can move its neck, you can move it side to side, you can move the arms, legs, and tail too. I've got a few Dimorphodon figures in here too. This first one is a dark green. It has some red and yellow detailing along the bottom of its wings. I've also got a bright red Dimorphodon with some fiery detailing along the bottom of its wings, which is pretty cool. This is probably my favorite Dimorphodon figure. And I've also got this gray Dimorphodon with a little bit of darker coloring along its back and the maroon or purple detailing along the bottom of its wings. This is a water dinosaur, and if I remember correctly, it is a Plesiosaurus. It's got a pretty adjustable body. You can move the neck up and down, as well as up here. You can open and close the mouth. Check out all those teeth. And it's got an action button on its back to move its flippers. Check out this next Monolophosaurus figure. It has some light brown coloring along most of its body. It's got the gray feet, which is a cool feature, as well as the gray detailing along its back, neck, and the top of its head. And it's got those huge set of teeth once again. Of course, we can't forget Velociraptor Blue with the iconic blue stripe down both sides of its body. This figure is fully posable as well. You can move the legs, the arms, and even open and close the jaw. Here is a Dilophosaurus figure. It is a light gray color. It's got some red detailing along its frills and on the crown on the top of its head. And the best part is that the tail actually opens its jaw and its frills. That's really cool. Next up, I believe this is called a Proceratosaurus figure. It's got a blue and brown body and some bright orange coloring right along the top of its eye. This figure is fully posable as well. You can move the arms, the legs, you can twist the tail, and of course, open and close the jaw manually. This is a Coeloris figure. It stands on 2 feet, but looks quite a bit different from most of the other figures that I have. It has the tan and brown body. It's got some awesome blue detailing along the top of its head. You can manually open and close the jaw, and it is fully posable with the arms, legs, and tail as well. This first one is the super colossal Indominus Rex figure. This figure features some really cool looking teeth. It's got huge claws on its hands. It's got some cool detailing along its whole body, a ton of spikes along its back as well. This one is definitely the biggest, and we're gonna put this right here in the Camp Cretaceous line. The next largest is also from Camp Cretaceous actually. This is Carnotaurus Toro. This is the super colossal figure. And this figure features the classic clay and brown coloring along the body, along with the battle damage right along its nose, and the 2 massive horns as well. Let's put this right next to the Indominus Rex on the Camp Cretaceous line. Unfortunately, Fallen Kingdom does not have any super colossal figures, but we'll get started with the biggest figures that I do have from Fallen Kingdom. This first one is a giant T-Rex, and this one features some pretty cool attack moves. If you move its tail, it lifts its head up for a roar, and if you move the tail downwards, it actually chomps it towards the ground. Plus, you can move it side to side to swivel the head too. So we're gonna put this first Fallen Kingdom dinosaur right here. All of our Fallen Kingdom dinosaurs will go along the front right here, and Camp Cretaceous will go along the back. Let's go ahead and grab another Fallen Kingdom dinosaur. This is another T-Rex, but this is the Battle Damage edition. You can see it has a lot of the same coloring along most of its body as the first T-Rex, but it's got some really cool battle damage coloring. You can see some slashes on its neck, on its chin, and all over its body. And it is a little bit smaller than the first T-Rex, so let's set him down right next to it. Moving on to the next largest Camp Cretaceous, we've got the Spinosaurus figure from Camp Cretaceous with the tan coloring. It's got the super long snout and some really big front arms. You'll notice that the arms on a Spinosaurus are a lot larger than on a T-Rex figure. Look how much bigger it is on a Spinosaurus. Now let's go ahead and set this Spinosaurus next in line on the Camp Cretaceous line. Look at that size difference between the super colossal figure and this Spinosaurus. That is a huge difference. Next from Fallen Kingdom, I think the next biggest figure is the Grab and Growl Indoraptor figure. This figure features super long front arms. It's also got a long tail and 2 attack buttons on its tail. The first activates its claws for slashing back and forth, and the second button activates the jaw. And you can see that its eyes light up as well. That is really cool. Let's set this down next to the Battle Damage T-Rex. Going back to Camp Cretaceous, our next biggest dinosaur figure is this Carnotaurus figure. And let's check it out compared to the super colossal version way up there. Check out the color difference. This one's a lot darker brown. They both have the damage on their nose though, which is pretty cool. And this Carnotaurus has a button on its tail to activate its jaw too. From Fallen Kingdom, we actually have a Carnotaurus figure as well. This one is a little bit smaller compared to the Camp Cretaceous Carnotaurus. You can see the size difference right there, and the color difference as well. And this figure has a button on its back to activate its jaw and its neck as well. Next from Camp Cretaceous, we've got the Scorpius Rex figure. I think this is the largest Scorpius Rex figure that I have. It's got the yellow underbelly and the black sides and the darker black top. And this figure features some pretty cool attack buttons as well. One for the jaw and then one for slashing the arms too. Let's set this down next to the Carnotaurus. From the Fallen Kingdom toy line, we've got another Indoraptor figure that is slightly smaller than the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. It still has the same coloring and many of the same features, but this one doesn't have any attack buttons or anything like that, but it is super posable. From Camp Cretaceous, we've got an Albertosaurus figure with the green and orange coloring. This figure reminds me a lot of a T-Rex, but it's got some differences in some spikes on the top of its head, and I think the shape of this dinosaur's head is a little bit different than a T-Rex as well. So let's go ahead and put this on the Camp Cretaceous line right here, next in size. Next in size from Fallen Kingdom is the Suchomimus figure in the blue and yellow coloring. And it's got an action button on its back for the chomping or roaring action. This is a really colorful dinosaur. Let's put this right next to the Indoraptor figure. Next is the Camp Cretaceous Cryolophosaurus figure. This figure is also in a dark blue color, just like the Suchomimus, but it also has some orange along its back and its head as well. Next up is the Fallen Kingdom Allosaurus figure in the gray and yellow coloring. This figure features some cool detailing along the top of its head. It's got those really tall crown eyebrow-like things, and it's got an action button on its back for chomping its jaw open and shut. Let's set this down next to the Suchomimus. From Camp Cretaceous, we've got a Baryonyx figure in the two-toned green and the brown coloring along the top. This figure features a slide lever action to open and shut the jaw, along with a ton of different sound effects. Now let's put this on the Camp Cretaceous line. Here is the Fallen Kingdom Ceratosaurus figure. This figure has some red, yellow, and black on its body, and it features movable arms, legs, and a tail, and the button on its back to operate the jaw. For Camp Cretaceous, we've got another Baryonyx figure, also with the green and brown, but slightly different coloring. And this figure just has a button on its back to activate the jaw and the sound effects too. On the Fallen Kingdom side, we've got a Metriacanthosaurus figure with this dark yellow and green coloring. This figure features movable arms and legs, and it has a button on the top of its back to activate the jaw. All right, that's looking good so far. Next for Camp Cretaceous, we've got the reflective Parasaurolophus figure. This figure features some really cool coloring. Look how shiny and reflective that is. It also has a tail that moves the head around, and there are adjustable legs on both the back and the front as well. This is the Fallen Kingdom Stegosaurus figure. It's in a teal bluish color. It's also got the lighter underbelly. And this figure features a slashing attack with its tail when you press down on its spine right there. Let's set this down next in the Fallen Kingdom line. For Camp Cretaceous, we've got a Sinoceratops figure in the green, tan, and kind of a darkish orange color. It's also got some yellow eyes, and this figure features a tail that activates the neck so you can move it around, and the sound effects as well. For Fallen Kingdom, I believe that this is a Sinoceratops as well. It looks quite a bit different, it has some different coloring, and some different horns on the front as well. And this figure features a button on its back that moves its head up and down. Here's another Sinoceratops figure, but this one is from Camp Cretaceous, and it's got some interesting coloring. The all black eyes, its body is mostly this light gray-blue coloring with some tan detailing all over as well. And this figure features the tail that you can use to move its neck around as well. On the Fallen Kingdom side, I've got another Triceratops figure in the clay orange coloring, and it's got brown detailing along the top. This figure features some huge horns on its face and an action button on its back for a slashing or a roaring action. And here is the last Triceratops of this video. This one is from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the brown and blue coloring, the huge horns in the front, and the tail that controls the head. Next in size for Fallen Kingdom is this Ankylosaurus figure. It's got the huge spikes coming out of its side, as well as the hard shell on top, and an action button along its back for swinging its tail back and forth. From Camp Cretaceous, we've got a Sarcosuchus figure with the purple, orange, red, and gray-blue coloring. This figure features a really long torso, a super long mouth, and some short stubby legs, as well as an action button on its tail to open and close the jaw and to move its head around too. Now we're getting down to the real small figures. This is the Velociraptor blue figure from Fallen Kingdom. And this features movable legs, arms, and you can open and close its mouth as well. I've also got a Velociraptor from Camp Cretaceous here. This one is a green with darker green striping. And this figure actually features an attack button on its back that moves its claws back and forth. Let's put it right there on the Camp Cretaceous line. For Fallen Kingdom, we've got a Stygimoloch figure with the orange and purple detailing. And this figure has an action with its tail used for headbutting. And let's put this right at the end of the Fallen Kingdom line. I've also got a Stygimoloch figure for Camp Cretaceous as well. This one also has the clay coloring with the purple detailing, but this one does not feature an attack button with its tail to move its head back and forth for headbutting. And the last Fallen Kingdom figure in this collection is this extreme battle damage Herrerasaurus. You can see that you can open and close it right there on the side. And for our final dinosaur is the Monolophosaurus from Camp Cretaceous. This figure features an action where you can move its tail to open and close its jaw. All right, there is our entire Camp Cretaceous versus Fallen Kingdom, biggest to smallest. Let's check out all these Camp Cretaceous figures from big to small. And our Fallen Kingdom from biggest to smallest. Let's start with the biggest one at the bottom here. This is the super colossal Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. This thing is already huge. Let's get those legs and tail on. Here is the fully assembled super colossal Indominus Rex. So first off, it has the typical coloring that the smaller Indominus Rexes have, but when you open up the mouth, you can see that there's a tunnel that goes all the way down into the stomach compartment right here. So you can actually feed this Indominus Rex miniature dinosaurs and then empty it out through the stomach right here. That is super cool. Plus, even though this thing is huge, it still is fully adjustable. Of course, you can adjust the jaw. You can also twist the neck. You can adjust the arms up and down. You can move the legs and ankles. And of course, you can move the tail. All in all, I'd say this dinosaur is probably around 2 feet tall and maybe 3 feet long. We've still got 2 brand new dinosaurs to open up. Let's start with the Albertosaurus. All right, so this is a medium-sized dinosaur. As you can see, it is a mostly green dinosaur, but it has those red striping on its side from the head all the way to its stomach on both sides. And there's an action button on the tail. If you press the button, it chomps the jaw. Plus, if you twist the tail, it moves its head back and forth like that. I have a few other Albertosauruses. Some of them even have battle damage on the side. This one does not, so this is just the normal primal attack Albertosaurus. Next up, we've got a feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. All right, here is the feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's check it out. So it has the same coloring as the huge one that we just saw, and it has this huge face and jaw too. This dinosaur comes with tons of sound effects, and it comes with this piece of meat. Let's see what happens when you feed it. So it's making some growling noises, and when it hits the trigger in there, its eyes start glowing too. That is pretty cool. And I love how big the teeth are on this dinosaur as well. Just look at that. Those are so huge. Right up top here, we've got another Indominus Rex. This one is still huge, not quite as huge as the super colossal one that we just opened up. And as you can see, it's colored kind of the same. It has some dark gray on the top and a lighter gray on the sides. It's got those orange eyes. And this dinosaur has 2 action buttons on it. First, you've got the tail button that activates the jaw. And then you've got a button on its back that activates the slashing action. All in all, this is a really cool Indominus Rex figure. Up next, we've got a giant Spinosaurus with dark green coloring on the sides. And on its spine, there's red, white, and a little bit of green at the bottom. Plus, this Spinosaurus is fully adjustable with the neck, the arms, the legs, and the tail. And of course, you can press the button on the top of its head to open its jaw. This is a super awesome figure and huge. Right up here, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I believe that this one was custom colored. So you won't really see coloring like this on other T-Rexes that you can get. But look how cool it is. It's bright red, black on the top, and then the orange on the sides. It almost looks like the T-Rex is on fire. That is so awesome. Back here, we've got another T-Rex. This one is normal color. It's got brown on the sides, a darker brown on the top, and the tan belly. Plus, this dinosaur has a few action buttons as well. You can move the tail, and it moves its head around, which I really like. It's super realistic. And there's even a button on the tail that you can press to open its jaw. Back here, we've got another T-Rex, but this one is battle damage. Look at that right on the side. And pressing the button, you can turn it on and off. That is super awesome. And this T-Rex is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, neck, and the jaw as well. Back here, we've actually got another battle damage T-Rex, but this one is a bit different than the other one. Instead of having the thing on its side right here, you can see that there's a bunch of slashes all over its body, on the tail, on its legs, on its belly, and even on its face. And just like the other T-Rexes, this is fully adjustable. You can move the tail, the legs, the arms, the neck, and this one has a button at the top to make it roar. Here is another giant Spinosaurus with different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is mostly brown with the red detailing. You can see along its face it's got that bright red coloring as well as along its spine. And even on the top you can see that there's a lighter tan and then a dark brown color right along the top. That is super cool. Fully adjustable, and it has the button on the head that you can use to open its jaw. Up next, we've got the mighty Carcharodontosaurus. This dinosaur is a mostly tan yellow coloring, but you can see that there's orange and brown striping all the way up to its head. And this dinosaur has an action button as well. With the button on its back, you can do the chomping action. Here is the Tarbosaurus. This dinosaur has totally different coloring. It is a dark gray color with black stripes all along its body. It's got those spikes all along its spine, and right on its chin and on its neck is a bright red color. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with its arms, legs, tail. The tail actually controls the head, and the button on the tail controls the jaw as well. Here's another fierce predator. This is an Allosaurus. It's a dark green color with red and white speckles on its neck and face. And it is fully adjustable, and it's got this slide action. That is super awesome. Right over here, we've got the great Metriacanthosaurus. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a yellow-green color on the sides. It's got the green coloring on top with the action button that controls its jaw. And it is fully adjustable in the legs and arms as well. Right over here, we've actually got a few Baryonyxes with totally different coloring. This first one, gray coloring with blue and a bright blue on the top, and it has a slide action for its roars. This second Baryonyx is brown colored, and it has blue detailing on the top and a bright orange top of the head. And the action button on this dinosaur activates the jaw. All right, here's another massive predator. This is a Carnotaurus. This dinosaur can be controlled by its tail. When you move its tail, it moves its head around. There's also a button on the tail to activate the jaw. And I love the coloring on this. This is like a dark brown red color with speckles of like a gray color as well. So it's quite detailed and fully adjustable as usual too. Right over here, we've got a super long-nosed dinosaur. This is the Sarcophagus. This is a clay red color on the top. Look at all those spikes along the top of its body. And along the bottom is a dark green color. But I love the detail of all those spikes along its back. That really gives it a strong texture. That's really cool. And the tail, of course, controls the head, so you can move the head around. Right back here, we've got a winged dinosaur. I'm sure you recognize this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus, and it has two action buttons. The first on the top flaps its wings, and there's actually one on the bottom that controls the mouth. Oh, here's a dinosaur you don't see too much of. This is a Ceratosaurus. This dinosaur is gray with splotches of dark brown, and of course the red back and the super bright red face with the white horn on the very top. This dinosaur has an action button on its back that controls its jaw, and the rest of its body is fully adjustable. Right back here is another Sarcophagus, but this one has totally different coloring. It's got the blue bottom, the dark purple top, same spines though, and then it's got orange and red splotches all over its back. That is super cool. Here is another unusual predator. This is the Majungasaurus. This dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. Although it's mostly green in the back, it has those bright yellow coloring right along its back and that bright blue color right on its neck and on its head. And this figure has quite a lot of sound effects, as you can hear. The tail also moves the head around so you can make it look super realistic. All right, this is another super noisy dinosaur. This is the Cryolophosaurus. This figure is dark blue around most of its body, and it's got the orange head and neck as well. I love that accent. And with this tail, you can adjust the head and wiggle it around. How cool is that? All right, here is a full-sized Allosaurus. I love the coloring on this dinosaur. It's got the tan yellow bottom and the bright blue top. That is so cool. I think we've actually got two Allosauruses here, both with different coloring. Let's check this one out first. This one has two action buttons on the top. The first controls its jaw, and the second button controls its arms. How cool is that? The legs are fully adjustable, and the tail you can twist as well. The second Allosaurus is mostly gray with the yellow splotches all along the top of its body. And this has one action button on its back where you press it and it controls the jaw. Right over here, we've got a brightly colored Suchomimus. This is a bright yellow with brown along its spine, and this dinosaur has a few action buttons. The first controls its neck and jaw, and the second controls its tail. Plus, the rest of the figure is fully adjustable as well. Oh, here's actually a second Suchomimus with totally different coloring. This one is mostly blue along the entire body, but it's got the yellow detailing along its spine as well as those splotches. And this Suchomimus has one action on its back. When you press it down, it does a chomping action. All right, here's another Baryonyx with different coloring. This Baryonyx is light brown on the sides and the belly, and on the top has a dark blue coloring all along its back to the tail and to the head. But the coolest part of the coloring is this super reflective blue coloring right on its head. This Baryonyx is fully adjustable and it has one action button for its jaw. Here is another Cryolophosaurus. This one is differently colored than the last one that we saw. It's mostly yellow with the brown on the top and of course the bright orange crown on its head. This dinosaur is fully adjustable. You can move the tail to adjust the head. And of course, as you can hear, it comes with tons of sound effects. Here is another Metriacanthosaurus, but once again, different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is a bright red color with brown detailing all along its back. And on the head, you can see that it's got that bright orange and yellow coloring. There is one action button on this dinosaur, and that controls the jaw. Up next, we've got another Carcharodontosaurus. Check out the coloring on this one. This is a bright blue coloring, and it's got the brown and orange specks on its back and neck, and right around its eye as well. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with legs, arms, and tail, and there's one action button on its back that when you press, it does a chomping action. All right. We've got another Baryonyx right here. This one is bright green with brown on the top. And as usual, the arms and legs are fully adjustable, and there is one action button on the top that controls its jaw. All right, check this one out. I remember this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is a Dimetrodon. And look at that huge spine on its back. It's red with yellow speckles all over it. And with this dinosaur figure, when you wiggle the tail back and forth, it opens and closes its jaw. All right, I see a ton of velociraptors in here. Let's pull a few out. This velociraptor is a green color with a darker green along the top and is fully adjustable. Even with the mouth, you can open and close. The second velociraptor is different coloring. This is a blue along most of its body. It's got the tan bottom, but the coolest part of all, it's got the yellow along the top and a shining gold along its head. It's actually reflective, which is super cool. And this velociraptor is mostly tan. You can see it along the bottom and the sides with the brown top. But most importantly, this velociraptor has a slashing action. It is spring-loaded, so you can actually twist its torso back and forth, and it'll do this slashing action. All right over here, we've got a baby T-Rex with a jaw-chomping action, brightly green colored, and fully adjustable. And this is a Dilophosaurus. It is mostly gray colored with darker gray along the top. But this Dilophosaurus actually has an action. When you move the tail, it activates its frills. That's so cool. We've still got more velociraptors in here. Let's check them out. Here are 4 velociraptors. The first is an orangish velociraptor, and it has the slashing action. The next velociraptor is a bright red color with green striping on the top. Look at how bright this velociraptor is, and it is fully adjustable. The next velociraptor is a classic one. This is blue, and it comes with battle damage on the side as well. And this velociraptor is more of a yellow coloring with brown on the top. This one also comes with battle damage on the side as well. All right, just a few dinosaurs left. This is a Herrerasaurus. It is all green, and it has different shades of green all along its body. And it is fully adjustable with the mouth, the neck, the arms, and the legs. Over here, we've got a weird-looking dinosaur. This is the Shringosaurus. Look at those huge horns on its head. and the brown coloring on the top and the yellow on the sides. This is quite the odd looking dinosaur, at least I think so. And our last two dinosaurs of this collection. First, we've got the Great Dimorphodon. This is mostly a gray color with a dark red along the bottom of its wings, but it's still fully adjustable with its legs, its mouth, its neck, and its wings. And this Velociraptor is a dark gray color with yellow detailing right along the top of it, and is fully adjustable as well. Let's get started with one of the biggest Dominion predators that I have. This is the new T-Rex figure. This newest T-Rex figure has a ginormous head, the tiny arms that are classic for a T-Rex, and you can use the tail to move the torso around and open and close the jaw. Our first Camp Cretaceous predator is this huge Spinosaurus figure in the tan, brown, and red coloring. This figure is quite adjustable. It has much larger arms than the T-Rex figure, and you can move the head in all different directions and open and close its jaw. This predator over here from Jurassic World Dominion is the Giganotosaurus. And this is one of the biggest stars in the new movie. It has a pretty awesome spine running along its back. It looks pretty sharp and dangerous. And this figure has two features. The first swings its torso back and forth, and the second opens and closes its jaw. Next, let's grab one of these huge, super colossal Camp Cretaceous predators. This is the Indominus Rex, and this figure is so much larger than all the other figures I have. It's got some spikes on the back of its neck, even on its elbows. It's got some huge claws, and of course, the iconic teeth. Back to the Dominion side, we've got a huge Allosaurus figure. This figure also stands on its two hind legs. It's got some medium-sized front arms, and it has a button on its back to control the jaw. And there's battle damage on the side that you can open and close. Let's go ahead and grab this other super colossal figure from Camp Cretaceous. This figure is a Carnotaurus, and it is actually the Carnotaurus Toro figure. It's got little spikes running down all of its back. It's got some huge horns on the top of its head, and on the other side of its head, it actually has a huge battle damage scar. That is really cool. This Dominion predator is the Dino Tractor Endoraptor figure. It's got a really cool dark blue reflective painting all over its body, along with the classic gold stripe down both sides. And this figure has some pretty cool features. First, you can use the arms to twist its head around and open its mouth. And there's also a button on its back that activates the jaw just by itself. Check out those eyes that light up too. Here is our first T-Rex predator from Camp Cretaceous. This figure has the tiny front arms and the huge back legs. And with this figure, you can use the tail to twist its neck, move it all around in all sorts of different directions, and look super realistic. But wait, we've also got a T-Rex figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This predator has the battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off, and the coloring is quite a bit different from the Camp Cretaceous version. It's a lot darker, there's some orange, and then even the top is different as well. This is a much smaller Carnotaurus Toro figure from Camp Cretaceous. It's got a much darker red coloring than the super colossal version we saw, although it still has the battle damage scar right on its nose. And with this figure, you can use the tail to twist its neck around and open and close its jaw. Check out those sound effects too. Our next Dominion predator is actually a brand new one that I'm gonna open up right here today. This is the Scorpio Venator from the Roar Strikers series. This dinosaur species kind of reminds me of a Carnotaurus, although its snout is a lot shorter and it doesn't have the horns on the top of its head. And it's got some pretty cool coloring as well, with the yellow, the dark blue, and the white. And this figure has an action where you press down on its body and it chomps. This Camp Cretaceous predator is the Scorpius Rex figure, and I've actually got two of them right here. This one is the larger one though. This one has a dark blue coloring and the black on top with two action buttons. The first activates its jaw, and the second activates its slashing arms. Plus, it has a spring-loaded tail so you can swing those poisonous quills back and forth. Here is my second Scorpius Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. It's a bit smaller, and you can see it has green coloring instead of the dark blue and the yellow underbelly as well. And this figure is quite adjustable. You can move its arms, its elbows, you can move its legs and knees and the tail around as well, but there is no action button for this one, so you have to control all the parts manually. This predator from Jurassic World Dominion is the Rajasaurus. I've actually got two figures of this species, and this one is in the light brown and dark blue coloring. It's got some interesting spikes and a horn on the top of its head, and it has a chomping action when you press down on its body. Up next from Camp Cretaceous is the Cryolophosaurus figure. I've also got two of this species as well. This one is in the dark blue, white, and red coloring, and it comes with a ton of sound effects and a tail that moves the head around. This predator is the Pyroraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. It's a basic figure, so it doesn't have a whole lot going on with its coloring, but it's got some cool texturing with the feathers you can see on its tail, as well as on the top of its head too. Back here from Dominion as well is another raptor, but this one is actually a Megaraptor figure. It's got some similar red coloring with some dark blue, and this figure has a chomping action when you press down on its body. This predator from Camp Cretaceous is the Sarcosuchus. It has some pretty bright and crazy coloring that you probably wouldn't see out in the wild, with the purple, there's some red and orange, and then the blue underbelly. But this one has a really long snout with tons of teeth, which I think is a really cool feature. Plus, you can operate the jaw by pressing the button on the tail. Here's a dinosaur that probably not too many people are familiar with. This is the Yangchuanosaurus. It stands on its two back legs, it has some medium-sized front arms, it's got a bright crown on the top of its head, and some cool ridges that run all the way down its neck. And this figure features two actions. You can use the tail to twist the torso back and forth, and the button on the tail activates the jaw. This dark green Albertosaurus figure is from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the orange stripe running down both sides of its body. And while there's not a whole lot that you can move on this figure, there is an action button on its tail, both to move the head around and to open and close the jaw. Here is another one of my newest figures in the Dominion collection. This is from the Dino Trackers series. This is, I believe it's pronounced an Eocarcharia. It's got the feather texturing all over its body, just like the Pyroraptor, and it has an action slide on its back used to open its mouth and twist its neck back and forth. This is the Dominion Atrociraptor, and I think it's one of the first Atrociraptors in this collection. This one is a pretty basic figure, so you can move the arms, the legs, and the tail, but it doesn't have any action buttons or features. This predator is the Baryonyx figure from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the green and brown body, and an action button on its back to activate its long jaw. Here is the second Giganotosaurus of this predator collection. This is a much smaller version of the Giganotosaurus, but it still has the same awesome coloring, and it comes with sound effects as well. Over here from Camp Cretaceous, we've got another Baryonyx figure. It has similar coloring with the green and brown, and also an action button on its back to activate its jaw. Now check out this Atrociraptor figure from Dominion. This is part of the Rowdy Roars collection. You can press the button on the top of its head for sound effects and some movement. And you can touch its jaw and it'll move around as well. Here is our last Camp Cretaceous predator of this collection. This is the Ceratosaurus. It's got the huge horn on the top of its head and the classic Ceratosaurus coloring, and a slide lever action for sound effects and moving the jaw. And here is a much smaller Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the broken horn on the top of its head and very different coloring compared to the Camp Cretaceous Carnotaurus figures.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.